The stars above Arcanes V blinked like scattered jewels, each holding stories of civilizations long gone. Yet, none could compare to the tale that was about to unfold, one that would make the galaxy pause, as if holding its breath in silent awe. The human, Cale Arden, had always been a man of logic and precision. As a starship pilot for the United Interstellar Alliance, he had traversed dangerous nebulae, evaded marauder fleets, and negotiated with warlords from 10 systems over. Yet, nothing in his disciplined life could have prepared him for what arrived at the docking bay of the capital station of Solara Prime. 2 vampire princesses, bound by crimson silk, exuding an aura of danger and allure that could freeze even the bravest heart. Chapter 1. Arrival of the Forbidden. Cale stood rigid as the transport bay doors opened. The 2 figures emerged, one taller than the other, with eyes like molten gold and sapphire, reflecting centuries of cunning and ferocity. They were the last heirs of the Vraden lineage, a vampire clan whose name alone could ignite planetary wars. Their appearance was not just a diplomatic gift, it was a declaration. The human who received them was now a player in a game spanning galaxies. The elder princess, Lysera, moved with the grace of a predator, her dark hair cascading down like liquid night. Her eyes, burning with 1,000 secrets, met Cale's. The younger, Maven, hovered slightly behind her sister, her movements more cautious but no less dangerous, her gaze both curious and calculating. "You are the human?" Lysera's voice was silk and steel, each word vibrating with authority. Cale nodded, swallowing against the lump in his throat. I am Cale Arden, pilot of the UIA starship Eclipse. I accept your arrival." Lysera's lips curved into a smile that was more a threat than a welcome. "We were given to you. Remember, human, gifts like us are never innocent." Even as he guided them aboard the Eclipse, Cale felt the weight of the galaxy pressing down. Every corridor he walked with them felt colder, the hum of the ship's engines muted under the presence of ancient beings who had seen empires rise and fall. Chapter 2. The Frozen Galaxy. Within hours of their arrival, Cale began to sense an unnatural stillness across the galaxy. Communications from neighboring systems froze mid-transmission. Trade ships vanished from known routes. Entire colonies reported silence from the stars. It was Maven who first spoke of it. "The galaxy recognizes our presence," she whispered one night as Cale monitored the ship's sensors. Her hand brushed his arm lightly, sending an electric thrill through him. "It senses that its centuries-old balance has been disturbed. Every system holds its breath." Lysera, ever the dominant one, added, "And the reason it has paused is you, human. The galaxy did not anticipate that someone of your kind would be entrusted with us." Cale swallowed, realizing the implication. "They trust me with you?" Lysera's gaze bored into his. "Not trust. Tolerance. For now." It was a delicate balance. One misstep, and the galaxy's frozen state could turn into chaos. Cale had to learn the rules quickly, but first, he had to survive. Chapter 3. Lessons in Darkness. Days turned into nights as Cale attempted to understand the vampire princesses. Their powers were unlike anything humanity had cataloged. Lysera could manipulate shadows, bending them to her will, cloaking entire sectors from sensors. Maven had a subtler gift, a mind touch that allowed her to glimpse emotions, memories, and even potential futures. Cale's training as a human soldier helped, but the lessons were brutal. Lysera pushed him into combat simulations, where his reflexes alone could not counter her supernatural speed. Maven tested his mind, probing his thoughts, questioning his every motive. Yet, amidst the danger, there was something fragile. Between whispered conversations in the ship's observation deck and silent shared watches of the stars, Kale began to see them not just as weapons, but as beings who had been shackled by their destiny. "You know," Maven said softly one night, "humans fear us not because of our power, but because of our choice. We are free to destroy, but we do not, unless we are commanded. You have the authority to command nothing, yet you guide us." Kale exhaled slowly. "I'm learning, but I don't think I fully understand what I'm guiding." Lysera's hand rested briefly on his shoulder, a fleeting touch that burned hotter than any sun. "Perhaps, human, some things can only be understood in the heart." Chapter 4. The Threat of the Blood Eclipse. As Kale and the princesses began to settle into an uneasy rhythm, danger struck. News arrived via encrypted channels. A coalition of warlords, fearful of the Vraden princesses being in human custody, had formed an armada. Their intent was clear: reclaim the vampires, by force if necessary. Lysera's eyes gleamed. "They underestimate you, and they underestimate the galaxy's reaction to us being here." Maven stepped forward. "They will move during the blood eclipse. It is the only time when our powers reach their peak, but also when we are most vulnerable." Kale's mind raced. The blood eclipse was a rare celestial alignment that amplified vampire abilities, but it also made them targets. The galaxy was watching, frozen in anticipation. If he failed, it wouldn't just be his life. They would all fall, and the galaxy might never recover from the ensuing war. He realized then that his role was no longer just a caretaker or guide. He had become a linchpin, the fragile human thread holding the galaxy's delicate tapestry together. Chapter 5. Battle Among Stars. The night of the blood eclipse arrived. Kale piloted the eclipse into the heart of the Armada. Shadows stretched from Lysera's form like living tendrils, tearing through enemy ships before they could fire. Maven's mind touch predicted movements, allowing Kale to maneuver with preternatural precision. Still, the enemy was relentless. Their flagship, a massive vessel coated in energy-resistant alloys, broke through the perimeter, firing deadly volleys. Kale had only one chance. He glanced at the princesses. Lysera nodded. Together. Maven placed her hand on his chest. "Trust yourself as we trust you." For a moment, the galaxy seemed to hold its breath. Then, with Lysera casting shadows to blind the enemy fleet and Maven manipulating the tactical thoughts of the opposing commanders, Kale executed a maneuver so daring it bordered on suicidal. He piloted the eclipse through the flagship's main cannon blast, emerging in its blind spot. With the combined might of human ingenuity and vampire power, the flagship was destroyed. The rest of the Armada, seeing their command obliterated, retreated. Silence fell. The galaxy exhaled. Systems came back online. Communications resumed. The frozen void melted into stars and voices once again. And amidst it all, Kale, Lysera, and Maven floated among the wreckage, alive and victorious. Chapter 6. The Human and His Queens. In the aftermath, the galaxy slowly resumed its rhythm. Kale had changed, no longer a simple human pilot, but a figure whose choices could alter interstellar destiny. The princesses, freed from the immediate threat, looked at him with something deeper than gratitude. Lysera's golden eyes softened. Perhaps the galaxy did freeze for a reason, to allow us to recognize what we could not see before. Maven smiled, a rare, unguarded expression. A human, flawed and fleeting, but steadfast. The galaxy entrusted you with us because you are extraordinary in your ordinariness. Kale chuckled softly, a sound that was half disbelief, half relief. Extraordinary in my ordinariness. I can live with that. The princesses drew closer, their presence warming the ship in a way that felt almost human. No words were necessary. They had survived the galaxy's judgment, and in the frozen space between stars, they had found a home, not just with Kale, but with each other in a fragile, newfound trust. The galaxy had paused to witness the impossible, and when it resumed its course, it carried the tale of a human who dared to hold two vampire princesses without fear, and the bond that could not be broken by time, stars, or destiny itself. Epilogue. A universe changed months later. Kale stood on the observation deck of the Eclipse, watching a nebula bloom like fire and ice. Lysera and Maven stood beside him, no longer merely princesses or prisoners, but allies, friends, and something far more complex. The galaxy, once frozen, now pulsed with life and possibility. Stories of a human and two vampire queens spread, whispered across systems as a legend, that in a moment of cosmic stillness, a human had held the weight of eternity and emerged unbroken. Kale didn't know what the future held, but he knew one thing. Some gifts, no matter how dangerous, were worth more than the stars themselves. And somewhere in the void, the galaxy remembered that pause forever.